Welcome back to the Beyond the Frontline podcast. I'm James Williams, former Royal Marine and former UKSF operator, SRR, and we've got Ryan as well, Ryan Forrest. Introduce yourself, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm former Royal Marine and co-host of Beyond the Frontline Troops. So thanks for stopping by again, guys. We've got a bit of a different video today, I guess, or podcast rather, on what we're kind of been up to. There's been a lot of things happening, hasn't there, James, in terms of where it's developed, your story, how long your story's actually been as well.
Well, how many episodes are we in? I think we're 12 episodes in.
12 in now, yeah.
We're 12 episodes in, and do you know what, Ryan? When we went up to Chris Till's apartment and we filmed that original podcast, which no one has seen, we went to his apartment, his little museum of a house.
Two for minutes.
Yeah, we sat in there for 2 hours, and it did dawn on us that the recruit Williams story from Commander on the Frontline. I mean, 2 hours was never going to be enough. So obviously me and you have come out and we're doing this Beyond the Frontline podcast. I mean, I didn't know it was going to go 12 episodes so far. In my opinion, as the storyteller, this is only halfway through, I think, for me.
Probably
halfway through, just over the halfway point at the most.
So I mean, there's a lot more to talk about in that regards as well, isn't there? When you think about all of the stuff you actually got up to. I mean, the majority of your life in the military wasn't with the Marines, even though that's a big part of your life.
Yeah,
it's been documented with Commando on the front line and stuff.
Well, Commando on the front line is the catalyst, isn't it, Ryan?
Yeah.
Commando on the front line is really the catalyst for this whole podcast. It's a catalyst for the story. I went onto social media and I was recognised purely because of Commando on the Front Line. You know, I remember I put my fitness videos up. Hang on a second, are you that Recruit Williams? It wasn't. Are you that UKSF SRR operator? That was like almost the cherry on the cake for the story for these viewers, for these followers, for the military enthusiasts. That was the cherry on the cake that Recruit Williams went off and was essentially a very strong character in the Marines on command on the front line, and then became a UKSF operator. That kind of like really, highlighted the story. But
and that's like 12 hours worth of stuff.
It's 12 hours, yeah.
Which, when you think about it, that was what we were originally concerned. Well, not concerned, but we were very thoughtful of that. You see podcasts, great ones as well, going on for 3, 4, 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Our story with you was definitely going to be going into the 10s, 15s, 20s. I mean, it's nearly 20 hours worth now, I think, on 12 episodes, give or take. So we're into the tens of hours now. So it's like, I think it's been well worth not putting one podcast out that maybe is 3 hours long and just rushing over everything, because there's so much to speak about. And I think individuals like you going forward will probably give the same benefit of the doubt for individuals like you if they're prepared to come on for multiple kind of talks,
And as an example, Ryan, doing it the way that we've done it, in my eyes, there will naturally be bits that you miss out, bits that, hold some relevance and hold a story. Me just thinking off the top of my head here, when I go into the realms of UKSF, and I'm going to be very, very careful. I have to be very careful, when I go into those realms there, I remember, doing maybe some UKSF ranges and me carrying the LMG, which will then take me back to the days where, as a bootneck, Ryan, I mean, did you carried the LMG?
I was an LMG gunner for my first year at unit, so.
Now, I mean, I won't go into the story too much, but in the SRR, imagine it's a whole broad range of different regiments, and naturally, as a bootneck in the SRR, who wants the LMG?
Well,
absolutely, me, first hand up, because
best weapon in the Corps, I think.
But that's what we are, isn't it, Ryan? Bootnecks are, but we're fighting soldiers. The whole course is geared around aggression. The whole course is geared around being up front. And when that didn't that wasn't out of place when I went into the SRR. So there'll be stories that come out, and doing it the way that we're doing it allows us to maybe jump back sometimes and pick up on these things.
Explore those things, yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
also, can I just say, the fact that it's 12 episodes long so far, that's kind of a testament to the story of the Corps. Even though even though my career in the military, 14 years, 4 of that Royal Marines, 4 of it was Royal Marines, 10 of it UKSF,
mm,
12 episodes of that. And it's not going to be 12 episodes for the UKSF stuff. I can tell you now it's not.
no,
But that kind of, really is a testament to the story of the Royal Marines. It really is.
it's a very poignant part of. I've never spoke to a guy who has been in the Royal Marines and then served elsewhere, who
Yep.
doesn't always go back to the Royal Marines and chatting somewhere. And
Well,
I've got mates who bootnecks who went into the paras and they
yeah,
still talk about the Corps. So
yeah.
it's, I mean,
As
it's a.
as you know, Ryan, on my TikTok, I won't name the users. I mean, I've got some reactions for them which are going to come out soon. I
Yeah,
just
this
want
is
to
going to
say
be
to
fun.
them now, thank you very much for the material.
Thanks for the
Brilliant.
content.
Thanks for the content. But I will react to it because when you hear comments like, "Oh, you lost me when you said RM before SF," and I sit there and I think, do you know what? Every single bootneck I've come across in UKSF, if they were when they become a civvy, if they were just walking down the street and they was in the military and someone said to them, "What do you do? What did you do?"
The bootneck.
The first thing they don't say is, "I was a UKSF
Yeah,
operator."
it's true.
And I mean, I guess using pronouns, they identify as a Marine.
I tried to put that in. I'm not joking. I think it's on. I don't know if it was on Instagram. It was on somewhere where you had to put pronouns in, and I went to put
Uh,
in royal, and it
you didn't
allowed
reckon?
me. What was
Oh,
it?
did it? It recognised it,
It
did
was.
it?
I think it was Discord. It was a Discord server. You wanted your pronouns, so I put
Well,
royal.
look, the whole point of pronouns is that you're allowed to be anything you want, isn't
Exactly.
it?
I
So,
identify as royal.
I identify as royal.
I put
I,
in
I,
that's
I,
Jen as well.
I identify as a sea hat.
A cabbage head.
um,
Oh, it's
yeah.
funny, man.
So, this is kind of like this episode here is going to be short and sweet. It's just almost like a tactical pause before we um, try to
Navigate.
tactically navigate like a
Mm.
minefield. I'll probably be feeling sicker than I ever did walking an actual minefield in Afghanistan. And I did walk. Do you know what? I didn't mention Herrick 7, but see, this is the beauty of doing it like this because it brings back
Exactly.
stories. I remember my first encounter with SRR, 2 guys who came to my
Hmm.
fob on Herrick 7, and they took us out on a night mission. Did I mention it in the podcast where I was like, oh, I was on this, small team that was going out into the night to support these 2 SRR guys.
Yes.
I mentioned it.
Yeah, yeah.
Did I mention that they walked us through a minefield that night?
I can't. I don't know if
I can't.
I know you've spoke to me about it. I think it was on the podcast.
It was. Oh
I think
God,
so. If I mean to give a brief kind of,
I,
yeah, because
I
they
just,
weren't bothered about that, right? They're just like, yeah, cheers.
I'm not going to name the operator up front, but he ended up being a mentor to me in a way. He was from he was from up the northwest, and he was a funny character. He'd walk along with his beard, and I mean, he'd have an earring in, and he'd have a roll up hanging out of his mouth, and he was just like real. He he uh he was so kind of like just so daring and audacious, and
Really.
would like literally like think of these crazy plans where most of the people thought he was a nutter, but he was like nutter borderline tactical genius. um
Well, it's true though, isn't it? Like you look at all these guys who come up with amazing stuff, and there is an element of crazy in there.
do you know what? If any of the guys back from the regiment, or if any of the senior guys in the SRR are watching this, and I'm sure they are, they're probably going to know exactly who I'm talking about, and they'll be sat
Really.
there laughing. And he would be my mentor. A little bit further down the line, he'd be a team leader when I joined, and he would say to me, we would sit there and we would laugh about how he led us through a minefield. Because I remember looking to the left and right of me, and I was like, have they not stacked painted rocks, and I
Oh,
thought,
mate.
I'm sure. What like is there? Do they know something I don't know? I mean, is there like you know? I was like,
Must have
is
been
it?
cleared or something.
Yeah, is this like marked on a map as not in play? Like, because and I remember saying to him, when I've gone through selection and I badged and I'll do him a service. I had the privilege of working in his God, what are they even called? Troops. I'm trying. It's coming back to me. Yeah, we're troops. Um, yeah, I mean, in the SRR, a troop is incredibly small.
Really?
In the wider army, in the Marines, it's a big group of men. In the SRR, it's tiny. And when I had the privilege of working alongside him and him being my TL, um, we would literally just like have a laugh and reminisce over this. I remember he was still laughing about it when I was out on operations with him at night, and it was just us two, like in the dark, in the cold, carrying out covert operations, and he'd still be sat there with his roll up hanging out of his mouth, like just having a good old giggle about the time when he walked us through the minefield.
So, so it's funny you actually experiencing that as a bootneck, thinking this guy's a nutter, and then actually getting through selection and
Mhm.
embedded into like a troop with this guy, thinking actually
Yeah,
he is a bit of a nutter.
yeah,
In a obviously
yeah.
a good lad, in that
Oh,
regard.
mate, yeah, he was good, mate. He was good. He was good. Real characters, real characters.
Yeah, awesome, man. I think for the reference of like where we wanting to go with this, we've got our first guest
Yep.
who we've already filmed it. He's coming on Thursday. Wayne Ingram, MBE. Pretty good story, him, wasn't it? Really, I mean, his story kind of took me by surprise because it was our first guest, effectively, on the show.
Well,
No,
do you know what, Ryan? I mean, his story as well. Like he, the mental health side is what's really, really, really interesting on his side. When you listen to him talk about mental health, and you will see on the podcast how I talk to him about some of the mental health stuff, and what we're saying to each other really resonates with each other. The moments we've gone through, the feelings we've had, the fact that we've lived very selfish lives being in the military and people back home have suffered. It seemed that everything that I said on those matters there resonated with him, and what he was saying resonated with me. And it's obviously, we always have said, Ryan, but once we start doing this podcast, it's going to grow arms and legs, and it's going to shoot out a load of different topics, and one of them is the mental health side, isn't it?
I think it's going to be a massive topic because the one thing that we can all agree on is, as veterans now, is
Yeah,
in some way, shape, or form, the lads who we served with, even the lads who didn't deploy in wartime operations, and they've either had a story before they came in
yeah,
or getting one after they've left.
yeah,
No one seems to escape the mental health bracket in some way, shape, or form. They're affected in different ways from it. It's
yeah,
like such a widespread thing, and I'll be honest with you, as a listener to you and Wayne on that podcast, just taking it all in, it kind of it's almost like a playbook that gets inserted like a cassette and gets pressed at a certain point. It's because it's not like it's scripted, but it's almost like it is. It's like,
yeah,
wow, you went through XYZ and this was the
yeah,
result, and then this started to happen, and then
yeah,
it's almost like Wayne talking made me. I would be able to predict certain elements of your mental health struggle through
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and that's why you resonated with his struggle so much, because you're like, man, I've been through all of this. I'm
yeah.
going through this part of that, and
Yeah, going through it right now. I think we both sat there and we both know that it's a lifelong condition. You have your good days, you have your bad days. You manage it. Sometimes it's a struggle to manage. Sometimes it's easy to manage, and there's no particular kind of method or um, kind of way to manage that. It just happens as it happens. I mean, for me in particular, this past week I've had a horrific week, and I couldn't
mm-hmm.
even tell you why I've had a horrific week. I put a brave face on it now,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I've been feeling sick all week. I've had anxiety all week. I've had anger issues all week, and you sit there and you think, what has changed this week? What has made it like it this week? and
I
you
think
just don't know.
we must. If you were to speak to my wife, she would be saying, "Have you been drinking the same coffee?" Because yeah, I don't know. It's a strange thing, man. I
Yeah.
think was the mental health thing's really interesting to me because even I was talking about when we'll hear this on the podcast, guys. You got to tune into this one on Thursday. By the way, it's a
Yeah,
real
yeah, yeah.
interesting over an hour's worth of great content with this guy. And
I know you've got. I know you've got your big names in the military. Like Wayne Ingram isn't a big name, is he? He's not
not
someone who's
really,
out there. He hasn't got a social media presence, but please don't let that put you off, because what he's doing with the charity work as well. I mean,
phenomenal.
yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
And the story behind the charity work as well when he was serving and stuff. I mean, you don't just get handed MBEs, do you? Unless you're an
Yeah,
officer, I suppose.
yeah,
An officer behind the wire.
yeah.
But
On, on behalf of the lads digging out. Ooh.
yeah, that's what
Can't believe
exactly.
it.
So, but but I think with regards to yourself, I mean, we only talking. I remember our first conversations about how, dare I say it, awkward social media was for you. We're talking
Oh
months. We're
yeah,
not talking
yeah,
years. We're talking months, really. Like this was a completely not just a brand new entity, but it was arguably causing certain elements of your mental health to kind of be disrupted at times because you were having to wangle your way through TikTok and the trolls, and
yeah.
it was. I remember
To,
that
I
early
mean,
day.
do you know what? With the trolls, I mean, I look at the trolls now as I actually say to them, don't I? I'm like, I actually do a thing on my TikTok where I'm like, right, okay, I'll tell you what, you lot are all SF nuts. What we're going to do is we're going to have stand up fouls and stand down fouls, just like in a jungle, okay? If you troll me, and it's acceptable, I'm just going to stand down fail you. No, stand down fail you, and I'm no stand up fail you.
Yeah.
Yeah, stand up fail you, and I'm going to mute you. And if you like persist and you keep on messing up, you're going to get a stand down foul, and you're not coming back.
I actually jumped in on one of them lives when you were doing that. I think you might have getting a four-finger pointing, and then stand up. Right, that's a stand-up fail. You get him muted, and I think your missus was on there muting the guys.
And you know what? As well, the other thing as well is I'm like, listen, let me tell you guys something. You cannot troll. You cannot troll a former bootneck or a bootneck. We are experts in taking trolling. We went through 32 weeks of being trolled, right? If you was good enough, you went through 32 weeks of being
Living
trolled.
at unit is a constant troll off the lads. The lads are
Yeah,
constantly we call them getting you on a bite. It's
yeah,
everything's a bite. Getting lads
yeah.
on bites left, right, and Chelsea.
Yeah,
Um,
you can't troll a former bootneck. Like
I don't
literally,
think you can troll a
you're
former
pissing in the
bootneck.
wind.
I don't think you can thrash a boot. I don't think you can thrash a bootneck either. I remember like punishments. What especially when you get a unit is like you do something wrong and they try and frag you with a physical punishment. The lads would just laugh like, we'd be
Yeah,
like, what? Yeah, cheers. I'm
yeah.
getting thrashed, am I? All right. I remember getting thrashed on an army camp once.
What by a load of pongos?
Yeah, I was on a course and it was actually a pongo.
What
Um,
thrashing you?
and well, it started off as a thrashing. Me and my one of my busy oppos was starting to we started to
Mate,
laugh as we were
sorry,
getting thrashed, right?
did you get thrashed by the ref?
No, I'm not going to name the cap badge. It's like similar to that. It's similar to the red on the back of this, but it was yeah. The we after about 10 minutes of getting thrashed and giggling, we put ourselves to the flank and said, "No, we're not taking this anymore. Like we're not getting thrashed off you." And he went, "Yeah, fair one." But I think it's difficult to thrash bootnecks and stuff because like you're
Yeah.
built to be physically resilient.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know, and
And
there's
also,
only
but Ryan, I probably couldn't mention half the things that were said when I went through training to recruits. They are so politically incorrect today, and people
oh
get
100%.
so offended. But
Yeah.
at the time, no one was being racist. No one was being, um, whatever other words you could imagine.
I mean, it was
It was
everything, wasn't it? To
it
throw
was
the kitchen
everything.
sink of
Yeah,
you could be you from Kent, like you're
yeah.
getting it the
They'll find
same.
something.
Yeah,
They'll find
absolutely.
something.
I mean, mine
They'll
was
find something.
they hammered me with Forrest Gump because of my
Yeah,
surname, and I couldn't run anywhere without getting at least linked to that stupid bloody film, you know.
yeah.
Um,
And it's very much, it was very much the mentality of, do you know what? If you can't take that, then you're in the wrong environment. All right.
100%, and it's, dare I say it like that now? I mean, that's probably a chat for another time, how
Mm-hmm.
they are now and stuff. But
We'll have
we've
to
got
see if we end
Dave.
up doing that one, mate. Sorry.
Yeah,
You know,
we've
the whole, you know, opinions on training today, iPads,
mm,
you know, the whole joining routine. Because I've heard that, you know, it's very much like how you feeling, how you doing. You've obviously got the is it the equality and inclusion? What is it?
so it's that as well, but they got like diversity, DEI in it, diversity, equality, and inclusion, or DI, diversity and inclusion. So it's effectively like, I mean, people will disagree with this, but it's kind of like, how can we get certain quarters looking more healthy based on this political sway? So,
See, for people like me and you, Ryan, it's very much like, are you good enough? If you're good enough, come along, have a go. We'll see if you're good enough. If you're not good enough, you can fuck off. If you're good enough, you can stay.
I mean, it was that simple. And it's, you know what I think the problem is, right? When you were going through training, you were getting trained off lads who fresh out of Iraq. I've heard loads of
Yeah,
lads say Iraq was horrendous.
Iraq in
Um,
particular. Yeah,
yeah, you know, and dare I say at the back end of the Kosovo lads as well. I know when I was going
yep,
through training
yep.
a year before you for the first time around, we had Kosovo lads in there. There was a couple of the really old boys, Falklands and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I was trained by I was trained to be an SRO operator by a guy who served in the Falklands.
Wow. So that's
I
like,
mean, this dude must have done 40 years in total in the military.
wow.
I mean, he was in the Falklands again. A lot of the SRR guys who may be watching this will know who he is. He was in the Falklands as a young. He passed out of bootneck training, and he went straight to the Falklands. Like,
Jen.
he was tough, mate. He was tough, and he was literally take no shit. Yeah.
You've just reminded me of someone there. I'm not going to mention his name, but we'll give him a hypothetical name like Rodney. It wasn't too far from it, to be fair. But his nickname was Whispering Rodney. It was because he couldn't speak. He like lost his voice box, and he used to crack around camp. I don't know how old this guy was. He looked like he was well into his 50s, possibly nearly 60s. I don't know. And he used Jen cracking around camp, sometimes in rig, sometimes in mixed rig, sometimes in whatever the hell he wanted. And it was like, who the hell is this whispering Rodney guy? He was always shite as well. It was like, oh, he's Queen's Marine. He's been in the Corps like since the Falklands. He was just sweating the Falklands. And I was like,
Mate,
you're joking. It's like,
honestly,
nah. It's like,
different.
no. It's like, how are they not getting rid of him? He's like, oh, they're just, because he's at that point. How can they get rid of him? He's never
Yeah.
promoted. He's a Marine. He's been fought in the Falklands, and he just lived in one of the grots getting shiters until he just wanted to leave. He used to send all his money back to a wife he married in Africa somewhere.
Oh, mate.
He'd give his lot away. He should get shiters on camp. It
Do you
was
know, here, Ryan? It's like. I mean, but those type of guys I mean, I consider myself very lucky to have gone through the training with those type of guys as instructors, you know. And I don't, could they get away with this today, Ryan? Imagine you're sat carrying out a task, yeah, and you're in a car, um, and you're being assessed on it and you're being taught, and you keep fucking it up. And what happens is there's this instructor in the back who very subtly says, if you keep on fucking this up like you are, I'm going to put my fucking fist through this fucking headrest into your fucking back of your head.
yeah. I mean, that's God. I remember crying with stuff like that. It's
Mate,
but that's what I was getting to actually. The training teams that you had, all of them were tried, all of them were tested, all of them been there and absolutely done it. Whether they had snags or not is irrelevant. Sometimes I even think the lads who had snags Yeah, if you made it out of train, you would be a bloody good lad if you got out of it and your corporal did have snags. It just brought something out of the lads a little bit, you know? Whereas
Yeah.
now, I'm not saying the standard is any less. That's not for me to say, really. But I know that they haven't done any tours, that's for sure. How could they? Unless they're like 20-year corporals, 99% of all the lads getting took through training now, the entire training team potentially haven't done a single thing, you know?
Yeah.
In terms of active conflict. Now, uh, this opinion that I'm saying has come from someone who didn't deploy to active war zone. You know, I
Yeah,
did
but you
loads of
was,
other
but
shit.
I know, but hang on a second, Ryan. You was in the Corps when I should imagine there's something to be said for being in the Corps when that was the thing, wasn't it? You know, you was in that environment still. You were still, you might not have been in Afghanistan, but you were still, you know,
I got to
in
taste the
yeah,
environment, yeah.
yeah.
And albeit it was only in commando training, I did get to see once I'd passed out the second time around, a little bit more mature. One, the differences of training, the pros and cons. At unit, I got a sense of how it was different as well because it was a
Yeah,
very
it would have. But sorry, the whole Afghan conflict would have permeated into the units back at home. It wouldn't have
yeah.
just been reserved for the Sangin Valley. It wouldn't have just been reserved for Musakala. It would have permeated all the way back because the lads would have brought that back with them.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't think it was me being naive and young at the time, although I do think it played an effect into it. But going through training the first time, I remember on camp. I mean, we're talking mid 2005. So what was even going on there? You're at the height of like
but mid 2005
proper.
was the real what I always referred to Afghan in almost stages. Mid 2005 was like the Wild West,
Was it really?
like gunslinging, you know, missiles, guns, PKMs. And then I remember being in CTC for my junior command course in 2009, and the conflict had very much taken a change. That the
Mm.
Taliban had changed their tactics, and they were like, right, we're getting thrashed when it comes down to conventional, you know, cops and robbers. Cowboys and Indians, we're getting absolutely annihilated. So let's start, you know, laying more AEDs. And I remember a distinct change because there was a far more reports on the news almost every day. At one point someone was catching it up through an IED.
I remember being at home watching it all unfold as I was growing older, still thinking, should I go into the Corps? And when I did eventually go back, the atmosphere of Limston was so different. It was
Really?
like, oh mate, I remember the first time it was like it felt extremely volatile. Every lad on the training team, from the boss down, all of them, I knew not to f on. It was like, don't f on with these guys. They had that aura of them. You know, I mean, some of these lads who were corporals have been, like I say, to Iraq as well, fresh out the brains. So it was
Yeah,
real.
yeah,
These guys weren't messing about, like, and it was the whole of that whole of the commando training center. No one really escaped that because everyone was involved. The Corps was a very busy place, and I felt it naively at the time. When I went in the second time, that volatile, violent atmosphere just
well,
wasn't there.
do you know what, you've actually brought back a memory for me in my time at CTC as a recruit. I remember the PTI, Corporal Stratford, I believe.
Yeah, I
Ca- he came in one day, and I think one of his oppos, one of his friends, someone who was very close to him in the Corps, had just caught it up in Afghanistan. And we were underperforming naturally as
mate,
recruits.
I know what you're
And
gonna say.
mate, we was the punch bag that day. He
Absolutely
was,
belted.
yeah, absolutely belted. And he was like, "You want to fucking wear this fucking green lid, you disrespectful, like disrespectful little fuckers. You want to wear what my fucking friend wore, who, you know, he was, from what I'm trying to recall, I think he almost had like a little bit of a tear in his eye. He was like cut up,
That'll have been hard, mate. Yeah.
yeah. And then he's got this bunch of half civvy scrotes in front of him. Like, we're in for a shit day.
Yeah, I can imagine it, man.
But hey, man, you know, at the end of the day, best CTC, best training.
It is.
Get
We've
over
got.
it.
What do you think about Dave Radband? We're getting him on soon, aren't we?
Listen, let's we got him on a group, haven't we, on WhatsApp? Let's
Yeah.
send him a message and see what his availability is in the next few days or so, and we can see about doing this this podcast with Dave. Which, what do you want to do? I mean, do you want to? Shall we just see how it goes? Shall we try and see where the story goes, and then naturally end it at points and see how many episodes he's got? Because
He's got a big
story,
story, mate.
he's got a big story. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the back and forth between the bootnicks and the paratrooper.
Yeah. I don't know whether to sit here with like a can of Kronenberg 1664. I don't know. But Para's are top guys, man. Like the banter between the two,
Yeah.
it's as prevalent as people would imagine it is. But the some of my best friends are Paras actually, and
Yeah.
they're close knit. I think through SFSG and operations in Afghan, the lads they can do the business as well. You know, the
Well,
Paras are.
by the sounds of it, I mean, I don't know much. I haven't really spoke to him much, only on the WhatsApp group we've got. But by the sounds of it, he's had a very, very kinetic career, incredibly
Massive.
Kinetic career.
Hugely kinetic, yeah.
And on top of that, he's served with UKSF in the SFSG role. You know, we can explore that and explore, you know, his perspective from the SFSG role, and also I believe he's you know he's quite, for want of a better description, swept up on the whole mental health thing. You know, yeah,
He's been through all of it, mate. It seems, and yeah, look, I think that's either going to go on for a long time or we split it into a few episodes. I think, hey, as long as he's happy to come on, mate, we'll get him on, eh?
Yeah, he's keen. He's keen, isn't he?
Awesome.
All good.
Right, so that 5-minute chat turned into a 32-minute chat.
Yeah.
All right, man. Guys, look, support the channel as much as you can by subscribing. That's the main thing. Liking the content and sharing it out with your buddies as well. We want to really start smashing the views on this podcast. Not only to get James's story out, but to get other people's stories out. All right, we've got a lot of things coming. Yeah.
It's going in the direction we want, isn't it? You know, like we always knew that the Recruit Williams story was going to grow arms and legs, and it was going to reach out into various different topics, and hopefully we get the opportunity to have guests actually say, do you know what, I want to go and talk to those guys because I've got a story to tell. It doesn't have to be military as well, you know.
Yeah.
Sportsmen.
Sportsman's a big thing, actually. I mean, do we mention what we've got planned with regards supplementation and things like that, like now, our ideas of sponsorship and stuff, or do we keep that for another one?
No, we can. I think we can bring it up. We are in the infancy at the moment of looking at bringing out a Beyond the Frontline supplement range, starting with an amino acid, and let's see how it goes. I mean, to me, amino acids, I must drink 2 liters of amino acids a day. I simply just have a constant trickle feed of amino acids. And, you know, I just look at the results in my training, Ryan. I mean, I sometimes train twice a day. You know, my social media videos are out there. I'm by no means I'm nowhere near what I was as a recruit, but I was 24 then. I'm 44 this year. But, you know, I can still
you keep yourself in good shape though.
Yeah, 10 to 15 muscle ups in a row. You know, I can still climb a 30-foot rope, and I do believe in keeping the body fueled with amino acids. That's always been my key. So it'd be good to get an amino acid out there. You know, proper products that we believe in.
Yeah. And that's kind of how we came on the idea, because I think we were both sipping on aminos at the time. Because the thing is with amino acids, guys, look, you can't drink pre-workouts all day, every day. They taste nice. Yeah, they've got a few good things in, but you just can't, all right? It would be extremely detrimental to your health. But with aminos, within reason, you can chug on that stuff, you know, and we both do ourselves. That's something.
Mate, I actually have aminos next to my bed at night. So when I wake up in the night and I'm thirsty, I want to drink. I stay hydrated through the night. I'd always wake up in the night. I literally just down a load of amino acids, keeping that body ticking over with those amino acids, repairing the muscles, you know, especially with glutamine in it. Yeah.